Miraculous, don't leak the show. If you do, I will kick your ass.
Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. In today's video, we're talking the Miraculous Manga, which has just come out as of this recording day. I believe, so as of yesterday, August 1st of 2023, the Miraculous Manga has just released its first volume here in America. And obviously, it's going to be a while before we have the next volume, or the next 2 volumes, because as of this point in time, 3 volumes have been confirmed, that of Volume 2 coming out in, I believe, October, and Volume 3 coming out in January of 2024. So, there we have it. We're going to be talking about Miraculous for a while now. Obviously, once the season is coming to a close very quickly, so who knows? It's going to be very fun to see that we will still have content to talk about as the series continues, especially considering the fact that the manga exists now. Now, a few things that I should briefly mention before we actually get into this is this is not going to be like a huge difference. If you have watched the main series, you have probably already seen most of the content that is within this in the manga. Should you still go and get the manga? Yes. Let me be very clear. If you are someone who likes Miraculous, you will enjoy this manga. If you have a friend who has been kind of on the edge of getting into Miraculous, maybe it's because they don't like the art style, or maybe they have watched one episode and they just feel like it's too long or something like that, this is going to be the thing that's going to convince them to actually sit down and actually enjoy the show. Now, another thing to also keep in mind is that this does not include the first 2 episodes chronologically of Miraculous. Neither does it include really much. This only includes 3 episodes from the entirety of the Miraculous series, and they're probably like some of the smallest episodes. I just think it's kind of funny what they have in here. The only 3 episodes that are currently in this first volume is Stormy Weather, which, granted, that is considered one of the best episodes to start with for Miraculous. Is it the best episode of Miraculous? No, that's more of the more recent stuff. But as of this point in time, it is one of the best episodes to start somebody on Miraculous. With the only episode that I would say is maybe better is Stoneheart and Ladybug and Cat Noir, just because of the fact that those 2 episodes are literally the beginning of this entire fandom. So, should you watch those? Probably. Should you watch those 2 first? Probably, but Stormy Weather is a good option to start people off, especially if they're not really too caring about necessarily seeing the entire series. If they want to watch it chronologically, there are lists. I have one. I have a list of exactly the order to watch every single episode. If you want to see, if you want to see it, I'm gonna put it here probably, and pause it if you want. But yeah, they exist. These lists exist. But this just has the first these 3 episodes, which, like I said, Stormy Weather, one of the best episodes, probably the most popular episode. The Bubbler, and the first part of Evil Illustrator, which is very different. The first two episodes that they adapt into the manga is, of course, pretty much identical. There are a few little changes here and there, such as heavily cutting down on the time for transformation. The only chapter that has the full transformation is the first episode, Stormy Weather, because it's a good episode to start off. If you're starting off with the series, you should probably show the transformation, even if it's not something that you want to show every single time. So, yeah. But yeah, pretty much other than that, the series is very straightforward, goes over a lot of things. Like I said, there's a few little changes here and there in Bubbler and Stormy Weather. And between each of the major episodes, so between Stormy Weather and Bubbler, and then between Bubbler and Evil Illustrator, there is an extra little chapter, to a certain degree. So after Stormy Weather, there is a a little panel going over that they actually did go get smoothies later. Obviously, Marinette and Alya went to go get smoothies, and then freaking Manon wanted a smoothie, and Adrian just got one afterwards, which is just a lot of fun seeing that whole situation play out. As well as after Bubbler, we get to see that Nino actually still continues to use his bubble wand, which he never uses again in the series, but apparently he's helping Adrian with his fencing by blowing bubbles, and Adrian is trying to pop them. And on top of that, we also get to see an interaction, a very cute interaction with Marinette and her parents, with her dad making a freaking RoboCat made out of bread, which is just, it's so much fun. It's fun to see that, as well as just the interactions as a family. They're a really cute family. Let me make that very clear. I love them as characters. But then Evil Illustrator. Evil Illustrator is probably the most different episode, because they really combined a lot of episodes that we really didn't get to see this early. Obviously, they go over. They take some stuff from, surprisingly, season 2. Specifically, I believe that they show clips from Collector, I think is the episode that they take certain things from, as well as a few other things, as well as a moment that happens later on where Adrian's father sees his ring and starts to put the pieces together. They do heavily hint that people are going to realize that Adrian is Cat Noir way sooner. However, I do think that whole section may just be something to change up the story. They were not certain if this series was going to be going for very long, so they have to get this wrapped up quickly. Which is another important thing to be aware of with this whole series, is that you need to move fast. Because obviously, most Miraculous fans already know all of this stuff. They've seen the story played out over a very long period of time, and they've been watching these series for a while. Obviously, Marinette and Adrian have been pining for each other for a while now, and we're in season 5 right now. There is so much that they need to compact if they are going to get through this. And how do they compact it? Well, one of two ways. One, you cut out a lot of content, or two, you make them shorter. You make the episodes shorter. You condense things down to their finest bits. Which, granted, season 1 is probably the easiest one to do that, because a lot of the different things could be boiled down to a few minutes. Season 1 is probably the most pointless of all of the seasons, except for the fact that it introduces you to all of the characters. But if you've watched season 2, obviously you know that season 2 is way better, and it continues to get better in season 3, season 4, and finally currently in season 5, where all hell breaks loose. So there's obviously things like that are, it's really interesting. But with Evil Illustrator, they actually add they do a lot of weird things. For one, Adrian is partially responsible for Nathaniel getting akumatized. He kind of grunts. He makes him feel like Adrian doesn't give a shit about comics at all, which is not true, never has been true. But yeah, he's upset, so chaos ensues. So there's that, as well as there's a few other things throughout the chapter that they've changed and added. Another big one is the fact that he actually Nathaniel goes to Gabriel Legre's place, and I don't know, there's a lot of things that are very different, and I'm wondering how exactly they're going to play with that as they continue on, because obviously in the original series, a lot of it was him going after Marinette because of the fact that he was in love with her. So I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, it's like clearly he still has feelings for her. I don't know. Like I said, it's weird. I'm conflicted, and I want to see more. I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do with this as they continue with the story. But yeah. And then, like I said, there is some interesting stuff near the end where freaking everyone is looking at Adrian like, oh, you have a ring that is similar to Cat Noir's, and identities are being revealed, and yeah, that's fun. Early on, way too early, just saying. But we'll see how that plays out. Um, yeah. But then there is the last thing that is really important for this book is actually at the very end. And this is the part that I think a lot of fans are going to really love to see. And one of the big reasons why I suggest that every fan should at least pick up this manga, because it delves into a lot of details that you may not necessarily know if you're just a casual Miraculous fan. Obviously, I knew most of this information like way sooner. But it's basically a bunch of really important notes about the series itself that many fans don't necessarily know. Such as how Ladybug has always been Ladybug, both in French and English, and it was kind of an interesting way to handle it. But Cat Noir is literally Chat Noir, and that's literally what they call Black Cat. And Le Papillon is what they call Hawk Moth, and so on and so forth. There's lots of little things like that is really dissected, and it's kind of interesting to talk about that and how they chose to do certain things in the Japanese because of how French and America did that, because obviously they're in Japanese they chose to continue to call Cat Noir Chat Noir. And I don't think that they changed. I think they kept Hawk Moth. I'm not 100% certain, but yeah, it's very Hawk Moth in both English and Japanese speaking countries. There's some stuff about the Akuma, how that's literally demon or devil. So that's always been a thing. Pretty much everyone knows that. Spots on and claws out. Those of you who are not fully aware. In French, they just say transforme-moi, and in Japanese, they chose to take the English version because it's just more fun. It gives more detail to people. And same thing goes with, then they do the Milady stuff, and there's a lot of fun things with that, and it's, they like I said, they go into detail a lot with translation and stuff like that, because the translation of Miraculous is really an interesting factor, because obviously certain things they did need to change and some things they didn't want to change because they wanted to make sure that it really felt like the Miraculous series. And there's like I said, there's a lot of different things like that throughout the series, and literally the only factor in this entire manga that I didn't know about is this final part, which is not in the anime, first off. The 9 forms of art in France, which is architecture, sculpture, painting, music, dance, poetry, film, television, and finally comics. And it's really interesting to see all of this, because fans may not be aware of that. Those are the 9 forms of art according to France. Now, obviously, there's way more versions of art, and you can look at several different things as being art. But the point still remains that it's a really interesting fact that they decided to give us. Which that one is like the only one that almost any fan of Miraculous may not necessarily be aware of. Especially because it's added. It's an added piece of information to the manga, just from Illustrator. Could they have done more with that? Maybe in the anime or the series, but yeah. But also, speaking of which, I also want to briefly discuss the artwork. This is actually something that I briefly mentioned, obviously, that the artwork is very different, but it's not actually that different. Obviously, the artwork is taking inspiration from that of the original plan for Miraculous, that of the 2D version of animation that they mostly decided to change because of the fact that the dots on Ladybug's outfit were constantly being a problem. They couldn't keep. They were having a lot of difficulty making sure that they were always in the same spot twice. Um, and obviously, with manga, you can't do 3D animation. It just doesn't work out. So it's kind of a nice homage to the original series, even if it is still kind of like in a weird in between area. It still feels like the actual 3D show, but at the same time, it feels like the 2D animation of the original time frame. What they were originally planning to do back when it was Marinette and Felix rather than Marinette and Adrian. And it's cute. It's really nice to see. Um, Legitimately, I think that a lot of Miraculous fans are going to be picking this up no matter the case and be talking about the fact that this is huge for the series because it has so much lore and storytelling within it about the entirety of the Miraculous universe. It's insane to think about that this little book has so much history put into it, considering the fact that it is such a small amount of the actual story. It only has 3 of the actual episodes, and yet somehow it is taking the story of Miraculous from the several years before the series even came out. That is mind-boggling to me. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, I absolutely do love the new additions that they've done with Miraculous, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us as the series continues. Especially considering the fact that, obviously, Season 5 is almost done. Legitimately, the series, this season will be done before Volume 2 of Miraculous comes out, which, holy crap, that is so freaking soon. And I'm glad that they are able to retell the story like this. This is literally everything that the movie wishes it could be. And I'm happy to see that they look like they're going to be doing a lot of really fun stuff with the manga as things go forward. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure to leave a like, leave your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. Of course, if you do have a theory, make sure to say theory review somewhere in the comment so we can talk about it in a future video. But anyways, guys, I've been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys next time. But on!